A government is an institution that holds a monopoly on the legitimate use of violence. Charisma is the gift from above where a leader knows from inside himself what to do. Power is the chance to impose your will within a social context, even when opposed and regardless of the integrity of that chance. The decisive means for politics is violence. The fate of our times is characterized by rationalization and intellectualization, and, above all, by the disenchantment of the world. Precision, speed, unambiguity, knowledge of files, continuity, discretion, unity, strict subordination, reduction of friction and of material and personal costs. These are raised to the optimum point in the strictly bureaucratic administration. In a democracy, the people choose a leader in whom they trust. Then the chosen leader says, "Now shut up and obey me." People and party are then no longer free to interfere in his business. Ideas come when we do not expect them, and not when we are brooding and searching at our desks. Yet ideas would certainly not come to mind had we not brooded at our desks and searched for answers with passionate devotion. Bureaucracy develops the more perfectly. The more it is dehumanized, the more completely it succeeds in eliminating from business love, hatred, and all purely personal, irrational, and emotional elements which escape calculation. Work hard in your calling. Either one lives for politics or one lives off politics. Nothing is worthy of man as man unless he can pursue it with passionate devotion. It is not true that good can only follow from good and evil, only from evil. But that often the opposite is true. Man does not by nature wish to earn more and more money. It's the intellectual who transforms the concept of the world into the problem of meaning. Politics means striving to share power or striving to influence the distribution of power, either among states or among groups within a state. The purely emotional form of pietism is, as Ritschl has pointed out, a religious dilettantism for the leisure class. Not everyone realizes that to write a really good piece of journalism is at least as demanding intellectually as the achievement of any scholar. Politics is a strong and slow boring of hardboards. One can say that three preeminent qualities are decisive for the politician: passion, a feeling of responsibility, and a sense of proportion. The experience of the irrationality of the world has been the driving force of all religious revolution. Within the confines of the lecture hall, no other virtue exists but plain intellectual integrity. All the analysis of infinite reality which the finite human mind can conduct rests on the tacit assumption that only a finite portion of this reality constitutes the object of scientific investigation, and that only it is important in the sense of being worthy of being known. Every scientific fulfillment raises new questions. It asks to be surpassed and outdated. All research in the cultural sciences in an age of specialization. Once it is oriented towards a given subject matter through particular settings of problems and has established its methodological principles, will consider the analysis of the data as an end in itself. Laws are important and valuable in the exact natural sciences, in the measure that those sciences are universally valid. A highly developed stock exchange cannot be a club. for the cult of ethics. Puritanism carried the ethos of the rational organization of capital and labor. It took over from the Jewish ethic, only what was adapted to this purpose. Daily and hourly, the politician inwardly has to overcome a quite trivial, and all too human ending, a quite vulgar vanity. All knowledge of cultural reality, as may be seen, is always knowledge from particular points of view. Certainly all historical experience confirms the truth. That man would not have attained the possible unless time and again he had reached out for the impossible. The fully developed bureaucratic apparatus compares with other organizations exactly as does the machine with the non-mechanical modes of production. Causal analysis provides absolutely no value judgment, and a value judgment is absolutely not a causal explanation. The primary task of a useful teacher is to teach his students to recognize inconvenient facts. I mean facts that are inconvenient for their party opinions. The ethic of conviction and the ethic of responsibility are not opposites. They are complementary to one another. The intellect, like all cultural values, has created an aristocracy based on the possession of rational culture and independent of all personal, ethical qualities of man. The aristocracy of intellect is hence an unbrotherly aristocracy. The so-called materialistic conception of history, with the crude elements of genius of the early form which appeared, for instance, in the Communist Manifesto, still prevails only in the minds of laymen and dilettantes. No sociologist should think himself too good, even in his old age, to make tens of thousands of quite trivial computations in his head, and perhaps for months at a time. The final result of political action often, regularly, stands in completely inadequate, and often even paradoxical relation to its original meaning. Whenever known and sufficient causes are available, it is anti-scientific to discard them in favor of a hypothesis that can never be verified. Its entry on the scene was not generally peaceful. A flood of mistrust, sometimes of hatred, above all of moral indignation, regularly opposed itself to the first innovator. Beware of thinking all your own that you possess, and of living accordingly. It is a mistake that many people who have credit fall into. Only by strict specialization can the scientific worker become fully conscious, for once and perhaps never again in his lifetime, that he has achieved something that will endure. A really definitive and good accomplishment is today always a specialized act. Social economic problems do not exist everywhere that an economic event plays a role as cause or effect, since problems arise only where the significance of those factors is problematical and can be precisely determined only through the application of methods of social economics. The fortunate man is seldom satisfied with the fact of being fortunate. Beyond this, he needs to know that he has a right to his good fortune. He wants to be convinced he deserves it, and above all, that he deserves it in comparison with others. Good fortune thus wants to be legitimate fortune.